Now I actually have the privilege and pleasure of inviting someone that I know pretty well up to speak. Melissa, she's going to be giving us a talk around the topic of intentional living, specifically intentional parenting. And so Melissa has a background in child psychology, school psychology, and at least 8 years of being an amazing mother to our children. And so she is my wife. I'm going to invite her up at this time to give us a little talk. I'm going to do the switcheroo.
My name is Melissa, and I'm really happy to be here. Just like a sprinkle of anxious, but that's okay, we'll focus that I'm happy. And I'm gonna share a concept that changed the way I parent and also the way I speak to my kids. And it's also something that you can apply to yourself. I think as I scan the room, most of you are probably past the chapter of parenting small kids, but if you're a parent, your kids too, that way. Okay, so before we go on to our next slide, I'm going to see if there's a volunteer that wants to read. There's a short little paragraph. If you're nervous, it's okay. You don't have to do it. But is there a volunteer that will read a little paragraph? Yeah, thank you. Every nervous speaker loves a volunteer that just does it right away. Okay, let me see if you want to use a mic. Oh yeah, that'd be great. Okay. So she's going to read, you can read along also, but she's going to read it out loud.
Can I read that?
Yeah. Okay. You want to use
Ooh. According to research at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and last letter be in the right place. The rest can be a total mess, and you can still read it without a problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole.
Great job reading that. Okay, so I thought that was amazing when I first read that many years ago as a freshman in college. And the work that you put in as a child to learn how to read is paying off when you can read it like that, right? Your brain just disregards the middle stuff because you practice it so long that it's able to just jump to the whole word, right? So this evening I'm going to share a parenting concept that is quite the opposite of that. We don't want to jump over this concept. We want to actually focus in and just zoom in on the middle parts of the in-between. So let's dive in. Slide, please. Okay, so the power of yet. So let me get to the Okay, so there was a high school in the early 2000s, and for their senior requirement, they had requirements, and if they met the requirements, they graduated, they passed the class, and if they didn't, their report card said, not yet. So it was very innovative at the time, early 2000s. And a psychologist, Carol Dweck, she studied that got her really fascinated. And she said when you add the word yet to something, it gives you, there isn't an end. So it lets you believe in the future. So instead of having the negative self-talk of I failed, they had the belief that I can still try. I'm still able to correct this. So that's something that I want us to focus on when we implement that on our kids. So she also, I'm sure you guys all have heard the term growth mindset, right? It's like really buzzy lately, but she actually coined that term back in the early 2000s, so it's been around for almost 20 years. And it's a concept of not living for something that's fixed and seen, but like the study of the high schoolers living for the future. And the concept, it's the idea that our struggles and setbacks are the road to success, as opposed to the idea that our struggles and setbacks are the enemy of success. So basically what I'm saying is that we should try to encourage our kids to love to struggle. And that also means that we have to learn how to love to struggle, because we can't teach something that we don't do ourselves, right? Okay, I don't know about you, but I'm still learning how to love to struggle. I think it doesn't come natural to most of us. Just love and embrace that struggle, that pain. I mean, I'm here right now struggling, and I'm telling you, I'm not loving it, but it gets easier, right? That's the point. And I actually, pastor said, you know, how are you feeling? And I said, I actually almost wanted to cancel like a few hours before, but then I said, I can't cancel. I have to practice what I'm preaching, right? So here I am struggling through it all. Okay, so in order for our kids to persevere through a struggle, kids need to learn how to tolerate what? Frustration. So that's what you have to learn they have to learn how to tolerate frustration. So next slide, please. Okay, so between learning a skill, there's a not knowing point and a knowing point. So when you don't know how to do something, to get to knowing, there's days where you're like, I got this, and then there's days where you're like, no, I don't got this. Then you kind of, that period, that time before you know it is the learning space. So when you reframe that as, I'm terrible, it's actually, you can reframe it as, I'm actually just learning a skill. It's a learning space. And also, I'm not there yet space. It helps just set your mind to a tone and to be able to grasp it. So as parents, is our goal to try to get kids from not knowing to knowing the fastest? Not really, right? We want to get them to struggle, to learn how to struggle, because that will help them be more resilient and be able to tackle problems and stick to it, right? Like learning an instrument, I know at the beginning it probably sounds really awful, and lots of people quit before where they're in their learning space, and they never get to enjoy the actual beauty of mastering something. Okay, let's see. So how can we support kids when they are in that struggle, right? It's really hard because we also have to be able to tolerate their frustration. When you see a kid that's struggling to put on their shoe, or it's taking like 10 minutes, you know, parents, we're on a timeline. We're like, I'm just gonna help them put on that shoe, or they really wanna do it, and sometimes we're like, I'll just do it. So we also have to be able to tolerate the frustration that we see in them and our own internal frustration while they're learning that skill. So it's recommended to validate the emotion, like help them name it, like you feel very frustrated and it's okay. This is a frustrating process and I know you can handle it. So you validate them and validate their effort. And also another study that Dr. Carol Dweck completed and noted that she gave 2 sets of 5th graders skills that were slightly above their expected skill. And for one group of 5th graders, the researchers complimented their effort. You worked so hard to complete this. You really focused when you were working on this. For the other ones, they said, wow, you're so smart. Wow. You know, complimenting intelligence. So when you compliment something that's into like your intelligence, you're kind of, what happens when they aren't the smartest kid in the school? Then that thing that they kind of used to pride themselves in, you know, their whole identity can come crashing down. But when you compliment skills that they can maintain and use for the rest of their lives, then that actually builds resilience and makes them want to try even more. So growth mindset self-talk sounds like, here's a mistake I can learn from. I feel smart when I do something difficult. Not I feel smart when I get an A. I feel smart when I do something difficult. And I can't do this yet. So adding yet to the end of everything that your child says, oh, I can't read yet. Or this song is way too hard to play, I can't do it yet. So just adding that reframe for them is really powerful too. So our job as parents isn't to make our kids happy. Our job is to prepare them for the rest of their lives to be functioning adults. And this is a way that we can do that. So thank you so much for helping me struggle through my process.